some real technical battles for the last 3 fights. Rogério Bontorin and Matt Schnell. I think that this is for this fight and the last fight of Chookagian and Araujo. I think these are your prototypical, like, let's squeeze them in between some phenomenal fights that everybody's looking forward to, because we need to promote more women for these weight classes, and we also need to get some flyweights going. And I think Bontorin, when you look at the fight that he had against Kai Kara-France, I mean, the running joke is, Kai Kara-France, I've known him for so long that maybe I named my kid after him because my kid's name's Kai, but he's such a fun fighter, right? Like, I think that that's a guy that after that tough for all the flyweights, he's never been off of anyone's radar that enjoyed that tough season and enjoys the smaller weight classes that are just so fast and lightning quick. But he's a guy that I'm excited to see get into the title picture again. I think that Kai Kara-France and Brandon Royval is a beautiful fight to have once again. Royval has such good experience under his belt, right? So when you consider where he should be in his career, I think he's going to be taking the right fights. And I'm excited to see this entire division kind of play out once the Marino and Figueiredo fight goes down. But for Bontorin and Matt Schnell is a great example of another guy coming off of a tough season where, maybe not winning the fights that he should, but he's seeing such tough competition. That's my favorite part about Matt Schnell's career is he's not that old, but he's just fought such good guys, and I'm really excited to see what he can do, because the wins against, Nam, Espinosa, and Smoka stand out, because when you're losing to guys like Alexander Pantoja, who I believe is a title challenger at 125, again, learning curve. You are only 31 years old, and I believe that taking on guys like Alexander Pantoja, Hector Sandoval, when Rob Font is your debut fight in the UFC after a tough season, you can do worse, man. If that's the guy to knock you out, you can do worse, man. So I'm excited to see what he can do after putting everything together. 4-fight win streak before losing to Pantoja, and then he comes off a very nice technical split decision win over Tyson Nam. I think that if he got a little, indiscipline in that fight, there's a good chance that Tyson Nam pulls out some of that power and knocks him out. But Schnell showed that he's actually learning very much to pick his shots, not getting into these massive striking battles with the wrong fighters, because when you look at the losses that he has, man, he's getting finished in the first round. That's him being indisciplined. That's him allowing himself to get open and just get absolutely destroyed. The overhand right by Pantoja is a great example. I think that this is the last fight against Tyson Nam is a great example where the technical striker is able to avoid, roll with punches, keep his hands up, things like that, and can now dictate pace and land some of his own shots, Wear that proudly, man. If you're the type of fighter that needs to avoid power shots from the bigger strikers and has to ride out a split decision win by just landing more on points and striking more and outlasting a guy, wear that proudly, because this is a great fight where I think that Bontorin showed that, man. I think that he tried to lock up a submission against Kai Kara-France real quick, and Kai Kara-France had that dad strength, man. He had that, will to win. He withstood that for as long as he possibly could, got up and just laid the man out. Basically walk away KO, in my opinion, and that was an absolute beautiful finish, right? And everyone's talking about it only because there was so much adversity there. He was considered finished, and within a split second he finished the man. So that's what I really liked about that fight, and I think that's where it kind of goes to show with Bontorin. The excitement is very much there for the first round, but I want to see this guy be able to kind of recover from going buck wild in the first round and still put on a technical show for the next 2 rounds. Because against a guy like Matt Schnell, if he's not able to finish him in the first round, which he's really, really going to try to do, he needs to be able to go the rest of that fight to be able to kind of deal with some of the pressures that Matt Schnell brings, especially in the striking range. But you talk about the loss to Ray Borg. Now, Ray Borg, I think he missed weight for that fight, but that was a dominant fight. You know what I mean? Like, I think Bontorin was very much humbled in that fight. I felt like he could have done nothing better. I think that was a fight where you look at the second and third rounds, man, like 9 minutes and 6 seconds of control time. That's insane. That basically means there was less than a minute of any opportunity of him having, some offense in that fight. For Ray Borg to put together 9 minutes and 6 seconds of control time really goes to show where Bontorin's wrestling was at that time. I think that this is going to be a fight where if Matt Schnell is able to exploit little things like that, it's just hard to see where he's not kind of the guy with more paths to victory. I think that if he gets rocked or if he's on the ground and gives up his back, things like that, that's where Bontorin is going to be able to showcase some of his skill. But when you're looking at what, Matt Schnell's learned and what he's coming from in terms of all the fighters that he's fought, man, you can't get knocked out by fighters of that level and keep going and not understand where it is that you need to fix your game. And I think he's on the verge of becoming that complete fighter. And this is a great fight for him to build those 2 wins again before getting back to that top tier class of the Pantojas and the Rob Fonts of the world. But I think the energy from both guys is going to be really fun. You talk about the Paiva fight. That was one where the energy and the striking was really nice for him. So that's what I want to see from Bontorin. It's like, don't commit too much. Keep an eye on where Schnell's going with the fight, because I think that that's going to be something where if Schnell's able to dictate pace, if he's able to do kind of the pot shot and the points battle with him, it's going to be a frustrating game. And I think Bontorin's going to want to rush in, make him uncomfortable, get up against the fence, maybe work in some submissions late once he gets some ground and pound in. Don't rush things like that, and don't put yourself in positions where you're going to gas yourself out trying to go for offensive submissions where you're either getting knocked out or just completely outworked for the next 2.5 rounds. That's where I can see him kind of losing the fight, but should be exciting as hell. Let's take a look at the lines. Matt Schnell, man, you can't argue with this. -130 opening favorite. Now looking at a -155, -165 favorite. Bontorin opened at a +110, and now he's looking at around a +130, +140. I can't disagree with that. I just think that Bontorin is showing that he does have some work to do when it comes to some of the top guys in the UFC. And the cool thing about Matt Schnell is when you're talking about the intangibles and what you can't call, in between fights, and what the man's doing with his personal life or inside his head, that's where I think that Matt Schnell has a bit of an edge, right? So much experience under his belt, knows where he's found success as, with his fighting style, where he's been able to win fights in the UFC. And that's where he's going to just keep getting better while also avoiding those opportunities to exploit himself into situations where he's getting knocked out in the first round. That's what I'm excited to see about, Matt Schnell. If he can get out of that first round, I think that this is going to be his fight to win. Let's see what Bontorin can do in that first round, because it seems like that's where he finds a lot of success as an exciting fighter. So I'm excited. I think that this is one, again, matchmaking, right? Bontorin's an early finisher. Matt Schnell finds success in the later rounds. Let's see who comes out of it. Wouldn't be surprised if this is a pick 'em by fight night come Saturday, but I'm excited.